Hey class, today we're going to talk about different ways that you can organize your arguments, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick pause and do a quick little survey question. So now that you're back from your pause, we're looking at different ways to structure and approach our argumentative writings because different types of arguments have different approaches you can use, and I want you to be aware of them as we move into this last unit where you're going to be writing a research paper arguing for a solution to a problem you believe in. So there are three main ways that we're going to look at. Traditionally, we see a lot of the classical or Aristotelian way of arguing. It's okay if you don't go that route. That's just the one that we're more used to. So we're going to start with the two newer ones and then look at that one last. But no matter what, your argument that you're making needs to be logical and easy to follow. It won't matter what type of organization you use if your readers can't understand, follow along, and go with you. Sorry, I realize you're kind of seeing the top of my head there. All right. So the Tolman Argument comes from Stephen Tolman. It is from 1958, and we originally used this for analyzing arguments, but it can be used to create your arguments as well. So it's great for when there's no clear solution or truth. As in an argument, you have to find kind of like a gray area where we can all compromise because there's no absolute. It does focus paragraph by paragraph on how to build it, which is different from the other ones where it's going to go almost thematically. And the goal is to provide in each paragraph support for that claim. And that might get confusing because we talk about our overall claim for the essay, our overall thesis. So you can also think about like, okay, we're now looking for support of each individual reason that matches, supports our overall thesis. So the structure of the paragraph would be that you have your claim, so your topic sentence, your data, so provide some evidence, then the warrant, so bridge us to why does this data support your claim, give the reason underlying this argument. You can do it implicitly, explicitly, but you've got to connect, bridge your piece of evidence back to your topic sentence here. Then you can have some backing, which is the further logic, explanation, developing of your reasoning and ideas. And then you also have something called a counterclaim, which is going to be addressed in, I say, chapter 6. And it can also be known as a qualifier because it's limiting your claim and acknowledging that you're not always 100% true. And by doing this, you're strengthening your argument. And again, remember this organization is typically used for something where there's not a clear solution, so you have to admit that in your reasoning, or else you're kind of standing on some sandy ground because someone could come in and say, well, that's not going to work for this situation. So by acknowledging it now in your paragraph, you've made yourself a stronger writer. And then it ends with the rebuttal, showing that the counterclaim may not be perfect, it's not 100% true, but again, having evidence to address that. The next one is the Rogerian. Karl Rogers is where we get this name from. This is best for controversial arguments that have hostile opposition. So you're going into a hot topic, it's going to be an intense argument. This is a good way to go about it. Try to keep everything calm because this is going to ask your audience to look past their current beliefs and try to find common ground with you as the writer. Just because I say this is hostile and controversial, that does not mean you get to be that way. You have to be calm, collective, objective. So make sure that you're like going that way with it. You kind of want to look at the opposition as a colleague that you're winning over to agree to work with you. So be reasonable, be empathetic, be compassionate, because if you aren't those things, you're aggressive, hostile, your audience is going to immediately come right back at you. So structure, you're going to introduce the problem. Then you're going to give a rundown of the opposing view. However, you need to be unbiased, you need to be neutral, so that way you're not, it sounded like you're attacking. You're going to go into your statement of validity or understanding, so acknowledging that in certain contexts, the opposing view might be valid, however, lead to your point. Then you're going to have your statement of position, so that's your point. So I run down, I acknowledge you, here's my position. Now then you have your statement of context, which is showing how your position has merit, and will fit the context better than the opposing view, so giving the why your side is better in this situation than the other. Statement of benefit, so what's the benefit of agreeing with you? What's the benefit of compromising? Why should we go this way? And those last two ways, the statement of context and statement of benefits, that's where we're finding our middle ground and introducing it to show how everybody's going to win by working together. I am going to provide you a visual of this that I think is very helpful. It's like a visual map on how to walk through it because it gives you some good detail, but this is a visual argument in my mind. And the last way you can organize it is the classical way, or the Aristotelian, like I mentioned. Aristotle is where we give credit for the origins of this. And this is focused more on like a definition of a problem that we're then going to apply evidence to. So an obvious issue that you're trying to convince the audience to agree with a certain solution, a certain side, that's where this is best. And so this one might work well for the topic you choose in this assignment. The Rogerian might be a good one to use depending on your topic. But either way, you have these options. So in this structure, you have the introduction. So what is the issue and its significance? Establish your credibility and the topic's legitimacy. So establish this really is a problem or this really is an issue. It's not just something that we're talking about to talk. Then you have the statement of background. So the context and history of the problem without your opinion. This should be an objective overview where you're not providing commentary. Because then you move into your proposition, which is your claim and major points, and then you'll add your proof. So that's your reasons and evidence, its justification, subpoints, explanations, connections that you're going to make between evidence and your points and the context and what's going on. Then you'll move towards the refutation. So again, the counter argument discussion. So you want to address your counter argument in all of these if you haven't picked up on that. But again, once you say the counter side may say this, you have to refute them. You have to prove why you are still in the right, why you are correct. And then you'll end with your conclusion, which is summarizing your points, make a call to action. At this point, it's very common to use pathos to try to get that emotional push of like, we're going out the door to do this, and like, we all agree, rah, rah. So that's where this one will end. What you're going to do for me is a little argument activity organizing and give me some examples as we continue to move forward thinking about how we want to organize our final exam. So let me know what questions you have.